If you are in your early to mid 20s, I hope you watch this video and it encourages you a little bit, because I'm currently 25, so I'm in my mid 20s, mid to late 20s, and I feel this has been such a time of reflection and just growing within myself and within my journey. And for the first time ever, you kind of feel like you're on your own, and it starts, the realities of life start hitting you, and you begin to understand, you're not so young anymore, but you're also not old, and you're just in this kind of middle and murky phase, which is always disappointing. And I feel you always look back and say, all the things that I thought I would achieve by a certain age, I haven't yet. So this is just a video for us to be accountable together, and just for me to share the tips that I've learned along the way, because I certainly don't have it all figured out, but I feel I do have some wisdom to share and inspire someone who may especially be in their early 20s. So let's get right into it. So our first point is, you're not supposed to have it all figured out. I feel when we're younger, we think that we set limits for ourselves that are very rigid and say, by 25, I have to have, gotten married, I have to have owned a house. But in reality, that's really not how things are. So I would want us to normalize, feeling lost and switching paths and not really knowing exactly where you're meant to be and finding the beauty in the journey. I would say for myself, I always used to feel like by now I would have, settled down and really known what it is I want career-wise. But I can honestly say this year of me being 25 has been the most, like crazy year. It's just been very chaotic of me, trying to doubt myself and, trying to maybe say I should have done something different in uni. But truthfully, I really don't think if I had the same chances, I would have chosen differently. And I find comfort in that. And let's normalize switching paths, because you wouldn't have known what you wanted to do 10 years ago, when you were 18, but now that you're in your 20s, if you are finding yourself, there's nothing wrong with taking the time to figure out exactly what it is we want. We're human beings, we're always growing, we're always evolving. So take time to figure out what you want, and then slowly but surely transition into that. I feel also, us as a society, we've normalized, being rigid. And for example, once you start on a career in your younger years, you have to stick with it, and not necessarily, you're not encouraged to experiment and to, figure out exactly what it is you want. But truthfully, I do think that we should be able to adapt and, grow as we evolve, because the things I want to do now, I really did want to do them when I was, 18 or 19, and my vision for my life then is very different from what it is now. So truthfully, we're not supposed to have it all figured out. I don't even think someone who's 50 or 60 or 70 has everything figured out. That's just life. So we should normalize not having everything rigid and set, and we should be very fluid and be able to adapt as life goes on. My second point is, the comparison trap will rob you. We are all guilty of this. I feel like with the rise of social media, our generation was the generation to pick up on social media. And when it first started, it was much better than it is now. I would say, back then, it was just a way of expressing yourself, expressing your creativity. But nowadays, we've turned it into more of a competition of that. You have to have a certain standard, or you have to have achieved certain things for you to feel like you can make it in social media, or you have to be very polished. And for me, for example, I know my Instagram, I deleted mine when I was younger, and I always regret that. But really, by the time I was deleting it, I was so fed up, because it reached a point where you had to have traveled or be on vacation, or be in a really fancy place with a fancy backdrop for you to feel like you can actually share a moment or capture the emotions you're feeling there, not necessarily in any space or any settings, which is how it used to be when it first started in 2017, 2016. I don't really know, but yeah, I'm getting old. So yeah, I feel social media these days, it's actually more of a tool of distraction. It's a very good tool. It's useful, especially for someone like me who all my family is back home and now I'm abroad. I mean, without social media, without modern age technology, I wouldn't be able to communicate with my loved ones, with everyone I love who's back home. But at the same time, it's turned into something where we're all trying to, monitor each other's lives. And most of the time, it's fictitious. It's not even a real life. We know people who hire cars, who, rent out houses just to prove a point, or, to look like they're doing much better in their lives than they actually are. But truthfully, you'll see that and you'll actually feel, maybe I'm falling behind in life. Maybe I should have done something different. And maybe I should actually jump into their career. But it's not meant for you. It's up to you to find your ordained path, the path that you are meant to walk on. And by you constantly feeding yourself with, social media and all these traps and everything that you see, and adopting every single thing and trying to make it fit into your life, it's not gonna work for you. What works for someone else definitely won't work for you. So it's up to you to try and, listen to your inner voice and block out everything external that is happening, and also try and just hone in on yourself and your own skills. And don't let social media rob you of that joy of knowing that, what you've achieved is actually good. I feel sometimes even our small wins, we don't celebrate them, because you log onto social media and you see someone, has got a car. But for example, you saved up and you were able to purchase a bike, but you feel like that's not really, an achievement, just because of how we've normalized only celebrating the much bigger things in life. But gratitude in the smaller things is what leads you to achieve the bigger things. So don't let social media be your benchmark. Thirdly, we have build the habits and not the lifestyle. This kind of relates to our social media point, but in this one, I just wanted to say that it's the habits that will make you or break you, not necessarily the lifestyle. Because circumstances change. It's life. Today you could have, $1 million. Tomorrow you could have, nothing in your bank account. That's life. That's how things go. Today you could have a whole house. Tomorrow a fire could burn everything down. But if you have the habits, the core things that you can always rebuild, the external or the physical. If you have the internal down, your habits, if you have those in line, you'll always be a winner. You can always replicate, physical wealth. You can always multiply and make money again. But habits, those are the things that form you as a person. They form your character. They inform even how the physical is going to manifest. I always believe if you've worked on yourself, if your habits are in the right place, or rather you have the right habits, you'll be able to influence your lifestyle through those habits. Because what you do little by little, it compounds and it turns into that lifestyle, and not the other way around. You cannot have that lifestyle that you desire. Everyone has different dreams, everyone has different goals they want to achieve, but you cannot get there without building the day-to-day habits that will lead you there. It's the little things that, for example, if you read a page of a book every single day, within, a year, you'd have read the entire book and you'll have accumulated so much knowledge, rather than never ever trying to read the book. I don't know where I was going with that. But you get what I mean. It's the habits, it's the little things, and not the big things like we always perceive, it to be. It's the little things that lead you down the path towards greater. Fourthly, I have friendships and relationships will shift, and that's okay. I don't think we talk about it enough, but when you're in school, when we're younger, when we're not in our 20s, it's because of proximity that you do have friends. You go to the same school, you are the same age group, so you're friends by default, by proximity. But once you leave that school environment and you're all in the same playing field out in the world, it's different. You have to make friends out of things that you share, probably the same mindset. You have, similar interests, similar hobbies, but you won't be the same age. It won't be a friendship that is manifested simply by, being in close distance with each other. And so as you outgrow some of these friends, it's I think it's the most painful part about growing up. It's just separating from people you thought you'd always have in your life, and just learning that as time goes, some people are only meant to stay for a chapter, not for the entire book, and that's okay. But it is painful, and I feel we don't talk about it enough. It's kind of like we shy away from it, it's taboo, but it does happen. And the more you evolve in life, the more you keep leveling up, I feel the more you lose friends. Because I don't think any person who has like really achieved, like success in life has that many friends. Most of those people have a very small circle, like a limited circle of people who actually support you and want you to do well. Because let's face it, also as you get older, you realize not everyone is around, for your best interest. Some people are what we call monitoring spirits. They only want to see, if you're like where you're progressing in life, and if you're doing badly, they're happy. If you're doing well, they pretend to be happy, and it's very exhausting and very draining. There are also those types of people who are always in like invisible competition with you, like they're always trying to one up you, and those types of relationships and friendships can get very draining, very toxic. So one thing I definitely will say is the older you get, the more, just expect friendships to be very chaotic. I'm not saying all of them, but I'm just saying like it won't be, how it was when you were younger, and that's okay. I feel we also need to normalize not necessarily, dissolving friendships in a toxic way, but just like being amicable and saying like we can be acquaintances, but truthfully, we don't think the same anymore. We don't want the same things out of life, and that's okay. We can all be, we can all root for each other from a distance, but it doesn't have to be beef. It doesn't have to be, toxic vibes. We can always like, like catch up, and but not necessarily be as close as we once were. And that's okay, and that's life. And our final point for the day is start before you're ready. I also feel like I'm talking to myself because I'm one of those people who likes to overplan. Like I like knowing how everything is gonna pan out, and that's not how life is. I'm soon coming to realize, like, you'll never be ready. You'll never feel 100% ready. I'm not saying jump into things head on, like without calculating, without, at least doing some research. But I also feel sometimes that can give you that paralysis of, you're so fearful that you need to know everything that you never actually do start, because you can never know everything before you do start. It's once you start that you're able to grow and to learn and to slowly evolve. And basically, the best things I would always say, like the best experiences I've gone through are the ones where I learned on the job. I didn't necessarily have all the skills. I had the basics, of course, but once you get there, you upskill and you learn and you grow and you evolve whilst you're already doing the thing. Just never saying I'm not gonna start until I'm ready, because you'll never be ready. You're never gonna start it. You're never gonna start it. Like for example, with this YouTube channel, I was going to be like, I need a camera, I need, the lighting, the setup, I need everything. But really, I'm just filming on my phone, and I have like the tiny, the lights that I got from Temu, just one. But hopefully what I'm sharing, the knowledge I'm sharing, does reach someone. So I really do want to encourage you today. If you have a dream, if you have a goal, if you have something that you do want to achieve, start. If you feel you've already acquired the basic knowledge, you've somehow done your research, you're never going to be 100% ready. Better you jump in and stop wasting time and learn on the job. Then it reaches, 10 months, a year later, and you're like, I wish I would have started. Because that's how life goes. Like, even for me with this YouTube channel, each year that passed, I used to be like, I wish I had started, instead of actually starting. So start before you're ready. And if you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. I hope you subscribe, join the family. I will try, no, not try. Try is a word I'm trying to erase from my vocabulary. I will definitely be more consistent. I'll post every day. I post on Sundays. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.